Good evening and welcome to About the Valley, and with us tonight are our guests we had the bus roll in, it's right here in the studio, as you can see. Foxy Travel, we have Keith and Tammy here from Foxy. We're not going to talk, we can talk about bus trips, but primarily what I wanted to talk about tonight, one of the things people seem to do today, the internet has brought about the ability to book your own trip. Go on the net, set everything up, make my reservations and all that. But is that a good idea? And that's what we want to talk about tonight, and that's why I had you come in. And we were talking before we went on. It's a pretty good idea if you use an agent.
Yes, it is.
Because you never know what can happen.
We might be biased.
Well, I know, but you have good reason. You have reason for it.
Sure. I mean, we've been in the Blackstone Valley now since I believe it was 1981. When my dad,
time.
yeah, when my dad Donald
Yeah.
started the business in Linwood, and we started as just with the buses actually with.
Yeah, I remember he picked up one bus. I think he drove it from New Mexico or Arizona.
Yeah, he did. He picked it up down in New Mexico and
he
drove it back.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine that.
It was that was not uncommon for him.
With all load in the bus.
Oh yeah. He went down. He actually he flew into Phoenix, if I remember right. Met my uncle Dick, and
Yeah.
they drove over to New Mexico
Yeah,
together.
Dick
and
lives
he
down
drove
there
back.
now, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So you met him down there, and
Yeah.
he drove the bus back.
Yeah.
That's a long way to drive with a bus.
Yeah. So we like I said, he started it as just a travel club
Right.
out of the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
And from there it grew into a full service travel agency. That's been operating. We're the only independent full service travel agency in the Blackstone Valley.
I was
And
gonna say,
Tammy's
the
here
only
to tell me if I say anything wrong. Since, Tammy's been with us now for what, 20 years? 29 years, geez.
Actually, I don't think there's too many travel agencies around anymore.
There's a few, but most of them are. So I mean, it's either somebody working out of their basement.
A lot of them kind of specialized too, right?
Yep, there's some specialty ones, or then you have like the large conglomerates that that are there as well. So.
But now you're really a hands-on operation. When you call, you're dealing directly with you. You haven't got some subordinate somewhere. It's
Right. You're
the
speaking
direct-
to somebody local.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're seeing someone who's really in charge.
Yeah, we used to. It wasn't actually all that long ago that my mom and dad had a phone that was in their house. It was back when they used to have simultaneous ring, and so the office phone was also in the house.
So when it rang at the office, it rang at home.
Yeah, so 24 hours a day
Yep.
that phone rang.
And that's what the thing. That's why you really should use an agent, because if you're on your trip and you've got a problem, can't call a computer.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's and that's a really good point. One of the issues, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, was especially with New England weather,
Yeah.
you never know when something's going to happen, and sometimes the advice is going to be, look, you need to go over to this gate or to this agent over at the airport and talk to them, and we're also working behind the scenes at the travel agency, trying to figure out ways of getting you home, or using tips and tricks that we have to get you either where you need to go or to get you home.
Well, you got a lot of years of experience. The little intricacies you can do to get something done, to get people back on the road and back home, or maybe who knows what happens if you're on the road and you lose your wallet.
Oh, we've had that happen.
We've had lost wallets, we've had lost passports.
Yeah.
We've even had this one guy that missed his flight coming back from college because he went to get chicken wings. That guy was the worst.
He went to get chicken wings and missed his flight.
He did. I couldn't believe it. Wound up missing the company trip up to the White Mountain Hotel because of it.
Oh.
Yeah, we've heard them all.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, and it's got to be a real stressful situation if you lose your wallet or your passport, especially if you're out of the country.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't get back in.
Yeah, no, we've had. I mean, we've had some tragic situations where family members passed away, like on a trip, or
Wow.
there was a person's son was involved in a bad accident back here while they were on a trip.
Oh, they got
Yeah.
word on it, now they have to get home right away.
Right.
Yeah,
And of course, your booking is for later on, so now you gotta change their flight or whatever.
yeah. So I mean, that's one of the reasons to use a travel agency is again, like you said, you can't when something goes wrong, you want someone there who's advocating for you, who's working for you. You want to know that when you call, there's going to be a person on the other line. It's hard to call the internet, and,
Exactly.
and the internet, there's some things that the internet is really great for. I always tell people, because they'll say to me, "Oh, well, I have to book an airline ticket. Should I call you?" I'm like, it depends. Like, if I'm flying this airline this time, this kind of stuff, then yeah, just book it. But
Yep.
if you're like, oh well, I have some flexibility. I don't know which airline I want to take. How can you get me the most value for my money? And that's one thing that Tammy and Sharon in our office just do an incredible job of, is sitting down with someone saying, look, what do you want to get out of your trip? What do you want to get out of your vacation? And then look to get them the most value for their money.
That's pretty tricky today with the airlines now too, isn't it? I mean, it's all kinds of programs and deals and.
Yeah, you have to watch now because they have like basic economy tickets now that they have no seat assignments and no carry-on luggage, and so there's all kinds of things now that.
Traveling to, I remember years ago, when you flew, everyone got dressed up. Gentlemen wore a suit, women wore dresses. It was quite the thing. Now,
We have pajamas.
See, I was going to say, people put on their finest pajamas.
yeah, I know. I mean, it's
Way back in the day, I mean, we would get free tickets for the airlines and stuff, and yeah, it was you wear a suit and
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a dress code in order
yeah.
to be
Now
able
there's
to
no
redeem
dress
those
code,
tickets.
and look at this thing where they're taking the pet thing.
yeah.
You heard? I don't know if you heard about the.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the
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 peacock.
emotional
Peacock,
support
yeah.
pets.
I mean, I saw that thing was huge. It's sitting on the guy's shoulder.
It's a good way to make sure that somebody doesn't sit in the middle seat next to you. That's
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, when you're booking, you got to be very careful too if you're booking on a plane, because if you get the wrong seat, oh God, it can be a long flight for you.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons we always tell people book early. And a lot of times what we're able to do is, if somebody books early and then the price comes down, a lot of times we're able to rebook them on the vacation, and then they can take advantage of some of the cost savings.
Yeah, especially with cruises, we always check. That's a big thing with us. Before we pay it off, we're always rechecking, make sure we get the best value. So,
Oh,
and there's many times we've been able to reprice something for some.
Oh, so it might already be booked, but then you can get a better deal.
Right. Yep. If you book a cruise, we always suggest to book early. You get the best availability of cabins. Your price can never go up, but it can always go down.
Right. So.
But we've even rebooked people at resorts. Sometimes specials come through, and as long as we rebook it, like before the final payment, they'll allow us to redo that for a lower price.
Yeah, if the place is not booking up, they'll lower their rates to try
Sometimes.
to get better bookings,
yeah,
right?
sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen always, but
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, that's another thing that we're looking out for the client.
Now you got all these websites, Travelocity, and that's one that comes to mind. But I think there's like probably a dozen of them.
At least.
Do you use
Yeah.
those? Is
No.
that the way? No, you have your own.
We
You
work with
go-
tour operators. We work directly with the airlines. We work directly with the cruise lines. So,
which is what they probably do anyway.
right.
But you're working more personal with them, because you're actually, what they're doing is they're working on a website with the airline, looking for what the airline's got available, not talking to anyone.
Right.
So there could be a problem, could arise too.
Yeah, and I mean, there are times that some of those sites do have cheap deals on airfare. How they get them, we have no idea, because we don't deal with anything like that. Because
get
then
one-
again, you have an issue, you've booked with Expedia or something like that, but you're not booked with United Airlines or American Airlines, so,
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, you're booking through this third party,
right,
and hopefully you got that ticket,
right.
but that ticket doesn't come
And you
directly.
don't know, because we've had many people, you end up with that basic economy, well, how come I can't get a seat assignment, or, yeah, well, that's the fare you booked.
Yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to have you on, because people, I don't think, realize that. And especially if it's a high volume time of year, like right now, I think probably Florida's high volume right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Caribbean.
we get a lot of phone calls for, hey, I can't take this weather anymore. Can you get me out of here? And
as much as we get sick of winter, it definitely makes us busy.
yes,
Yeah.
January to March. I mean, Tammy and Sharon are just.
What, a last minute
Absolutely
people
straight up.
calling?
Oh, yeah.
It really is. It's a weather phenomenon, and we even see this with with the motor coach. We do a lot of ski trips.
Yes.
And we even see it with that, where if people look outside and they don't see snow, they're not thinking skiing. Now, go 2 hours north, there's plenty of
Oh,
snow,
yeah, I mean,
and
this last storm, they got buried up north.
right. And it's kind of the same thing, for us when it's summertime, when people should be booking for school vacations. It's not on people's minds because they're going, oh yeah, this is great. New Englanders have the shortest term memories of anyone in the world, because it's like, oh, but it's summer, it's great. This is wonderful. Although they won't say it's great, they're like, oh, it's so hot. And then
But,
come
now
winter.
This month, this is a busy week. 1 weekend this month is going to be busy for you with Disney, right? With everybody wanting to go down for the school vacation week.
Yeah, I mean, but they've been booked already for months if they're
Yeah.
going out this month, pretty
Yeah.
much.
We actually we take a large group from Douglas High School. We take that's Sharon Smith's group that she takes down there every year
Oh,
is for their
April
for
vacation for their
their
senior trip.
all the families.
Nope,
Nope,
Oh,
the
just the
senior
kids.
class.
Oh,
Yeah,
I went down, we booked it through your agency.
thank you.
Number of years ago, we went down on an April vacation with the band.
Yeah,
I called your dad, and he said, look, I'm gonna book you in with the band, they're going down. I think it was a great deal. I mean, we got a better price on the hotel, we got a better price on the airline and everything else.
and that's actually another thing that we do in the agency is we'll put together groups.
Yep,
So we'll do it with cruises especially, but we usually do between 2 and 4 groups a year. And you wind up getting a great price. A lot of times we're able to include the transportation to and from the airport. So we take one of the buses and we
I was
load
gonna
everyone
say,
up.
that's the other thing too now. You actually will supply the transportation to the airport.
Right.
So now you don't have to worry about, because that can be expensive to park at the airport.
Yeah. I mean, normally we recommend taking a shuttle,
Yeah,
into the airport. But
Right, but then if you take one of the limousine services, that can be expensive too.
Mhm.
Whereas if you have a group, you pile them all onto one of your buses and bring them down. They don't have to just have a friend or a neighbor or a relative drop them off at your, down at your store.
Yeah, and one of the things that people always say to us when we tell them about the groups, say, I don't know, like I don't want to be stuck on a cruise ship, with all these with all these people.
Yeah, but you're really not.
You're never going to see them again.
No.
like,
No.
if you don't want to see, if you go on a cruise ship, like Tammy and I could go on a cruise ship together, and Tammy could be like, I see you every day at work. I don't want to see you on that cruise ship. She could never see me
well,
on
they're
that
huge.
cruise ship.
And we wouldn't, because he'd be seasick.
I'd be
so.
seasick anyway, right?
He'd be in his
I'd
cabin,
be in
so.
my cabin, so it's nobody ever
But
sees
yeah,
me
it's,
on
we
the
just
cruise
put it
ship.
together as a group just to get the better
Right.
rate. And,
But the
But
ship
you're
is
on
so
your own.
used
Once you
that
get on the ship, you're on your own.
There's so much going on that you don't necessarily going to see everyone.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the other things that I hear a lot is people say, oh well, it's more expensive to use a travel agent, and
Well, that's not true, is it?
it's not. you know, I mean, there's always going to be times where, you know, something might be, you know, less expensive here and there. You know, like there's times where, you know, you could wind up with something cheaper on the internet. There's times where, you know, we wind up being cheaper than the internet, but it's usually within reason. And one of the reasons for that is 75% of travel is still done through travel agencies. So your tour operator travel, you know, like your Globuses, your Colette's, the ones who are putting together these, you know, these travel vacations, 75% is still done through travel agents. So they don't want to go out and cut out the travel agent. So if you decide to just book it yourself, well, then they just keep the commission. You know what I mean? You know, your Disney or your Sandals or, you know, whoever it is, you're not going to necessarily get a better rate by going direct with them. They just say,
instead of paying the agency,
yeah,
they
They're just making more money.
right. It's kind of like going through the self-checkout.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you just did the cashier's work for them, and then they got to not pay the cashier.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because you know they don't want to lose a booking, so they're not going to charge anymore.
Right.
Right, and we have multiple suppliers that we look at, especially if we're doing like a trip to the Caribbean. We'll price it out with different companies and make sure we have the best deal or whatever. And there's many, many times too that people don't even know what they want to do, or they come in and they think they know what they want to do, and we may end up booking them something totally different that they never even thought of.
But that too, also, when you go to one of these on-site places, they're not telling you the advantages of another place or anything like that.
Right.
Whereas you would know that.
Well, because a lot of times
Because
they've
we're
been
not
there.
stuck at only selling one product.
Right.
We're selling everything.
But even comparing hotel rooms.
Right.
They might say, they give you pictures of it. Pictures don't really give you the real scope of it
Right.
or where it's located.
Right.
Whereas you've got a good idea of that.
Yeah. And if we haven't been there, we have other agents that we're in connection with that, hey, have you been here? Or, oh, hey, I know this person's been there or whatever. So for
even
most
if
destinations, we have somebody.
Even if it's a 5-star rating, it may not be accurate.
Yeah, right.
They're not always.
Yeah. Well, and a 5-star in Tahiti might be different than a 5-star in Punta Cana, you know. And
Yeah.
that's one of the other things that we can try and talk to people about is what to expect when they go somewhere. One of my favorite destinations is Jamaica, and a lot of people will say like, oh, you know, no, that place is, you know, is scary. There's too much crime. There's, you know, you don't want to leave the resort. And I said, no, look, I went there for my honeymoon. You know, I've been there numerous times. I've you know, I've interacted with the people. You know, I can tell you different places to go and different things to see because I've seen them and I've done them. But it also comes with.
You're not afraid to go down to Kingston.
I would not go to Kingston.
Okay.
I would not go to Kingston.
But there are parts of Jamaica you can go to.
Oh yeah, it is a wonderful, wonderful country with wonderful people. They are some of the warmest, most genuine people, and if you just ask them, say, you know, can you share your country with me? They will do it. They will do it very slowly. Everything they do is very slow. You know, and that's some of the things that we can also help people understand. Like, look, if you're expecting 5-star New York City, you know, somebody is waiting to serve you at, you know, and at every, you know, second of the day, you know, Jamaica's not your place. You know, I mean, and I remember this. I learned it the hard way when I went there for my honeymoon, and I said, you know, hey, our TV's out, and you know, I went down to the front desk, and you know, TV's out, and it was this gorgeous, gorgeous property. It had all these like hot tubs, like, you know, everywhere, and you know, beautiful views of the ocean, and we're able to you know, go water skiing and all this great stuff. And, you know, I said, oh, my TV's out. And he said, no problem, man. I was like, okay, great. And I get back up to the room. And the TV's not fixed. I went back down. Yeah, no problem, man. And when I finally figured out what he was saying is, why are you worried about your TV on your honeymoon?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Suddenly the whole country clicked for me, and I realized that, oh yeah, that's a first world problem. Like that is not the kind of thing I need to be concerned about. I need to be concerned about having a drink on the beach.
Yeah.
And if that's where you were setting your expectations, it's to me one of the greatest places in the world to be.
Well, so if you read a lot of the reviews on some hotels on some of the islands, oh, the Wi-Fi's bad. But you're on an
Yeah, but
island.
Get on
Yeah, I
your
mean,
get off your
Like,
Wi-Fi.
why? Why do you want the Wi-Fi? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's get away from it.
Right.
And hey, we love people having access to their phones on vacation, so they can post pictures and
Yeah.
make all their other friends jealous, and then they call us and say, hey, we want to go too. But yeah, no, it's some of the islands that you go to, you have to reset your expectations
Right.
of what you want. We can talk to people about what to expect when they get there and what kind of cultures they have. Because there are some friends, I have that are absolutely type A, personalities, and they expect, if
They want to keep in touch and keep going, even though
Yeah.
they're not working. They want to keep working.
yeah, and when I say my steak is medium rare, it means
Yeah.
that the center of pink is exactly 3/4 of an inch, and God bless them, there are vacations for those people too, and you have to match the right vacation with the right people, and that was, like Tammy was saying, that's one of the things that we're able to talk to people about, things that they may not have even thought of
Yeah.
or even knew about before, they came into the office.
How about Puerto Rico right now? Are they booking there again? Or?
They're booking, but not too much.
No.
Yeah, I'm a little leery about sending people right now.
Because that's one place in the Caribbean you don't need a passport.
Right.
Correct.
It's because it's American territory. They're the American Virgin Islands.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful country.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
The
place
beaches
to
are
visit.
phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they got some great properties, but yeah, there's still a lot going on down there. I mean, the cruise ship piers are open. They're going into Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, St. Croix, because they need to get the money back into these
Well, yeah,
islands
the money
and these
back in your
countries.
economy.
But
Yeah,
but yeah, they have a long way
They
to
live
go.
on tourism.
Right.
Puerto Rico is not as much because they have a lot. They do have some manufacturing, a lot of drug manufacturers in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But the tourism is a big
Yeah,
factor.
I mean, they've cleaned up the whole areas where most of the tourists will go,
Right.
Old San Juan, Condado, and that area, but they have a long way to go.
Right. Well, they still, I guess, a good portion of the island is still without electricity.
Yeah.
Now, seems that one of the most popular places from this part of the country, this part of the state, really, is Aruba.
Yes.
Any
We sell a
particular-
lot of Aruba.
Yeah. Is there any reason why people like Aruba so much?
Very Americanized. You can go down there and go to TGI Fridays. You can get your Dunkin' Donuts.
it's all-
They
it's
speak
all
English. They drive on the right side of the road, I believe. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
rented a car down there.
Well, 'cause
So it's easy.
It's not in our English. It's not an English colony. It's a Dutch colony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they feel it's safe down there, and yeah, we saw a lot of Aruba.
When
Yeah,
I
I
went
know,
down there,
Aruba.
I learned that there's a very big difference between the Dutch side of the beach and what was the other side? The one's topless and one isn't.
Oh no, that's St. Martin.
No,
No, there?
no.
Oh,
It was
okay.
it was that because I went out on the cruise ship or on the Midushi,
Oh, okay, yep.
and I was 16, and this kid I had hooked up with down there. Winds up we met the daughter of the Minister of Tourism at the time, and so we all hooked up, and he said, oh, you got to come crew on the ship with me, and it's this old pirate ship. Yeah, sounds great. As Tammy alluded to, I get motion sick quite easily, so
Oh, no,
It wasn't so
that
great.
really rocks.
yeah, oh yeah. So we're down there and we're slinging drinks for everyone, and we're up and down, and then we set sail, and oh, this isn't so good. So we dock over at this place, and we all take, I guess it was like a rowboat. I was so delirious I couldn't even see straight at that point. So they drag me over onto the beach, and all these guys are coming over and checking on me, like, hey, you okay? Hey, you doing all right? You doing? It's like, gosh, these are just the friendliest people in the world. And when I finally opened my eyes. I looked around, I realized that all the women around me were topless, and all the guys were coming over to make sure that I was okay.
But hey, we have nude beaches right here in Massachusetts, for crying out loud. Not topless, totally naked.
I haven't been.
Well,
is
with
that on
one
the
in
Cape?
Rhode Island, I think they finally they stopped it.
Oh, is it really?
Moonstone.
No.
If you're familiar with Rhode Island, up here, Carpenter Beach,
No.
No.
right next to it. This is back in the I'm going to say probably the 80s. And it was totally naked. Bathing suit optional.
In Rhode Island.
Yeah, in Rhode Island. It's called Moonstone Beach. It was popular. A lot of people going down there.
We'll have
And it was
to
next to it was a
research that.
family beach. Next to it
next
was a
to it.
family beach it was owned by the Carpenter family. That name was Carpenter
Oh,
Beach.
okay.
Carpenter family actually were farmers. Rhode Island's a big farming state, whether you know it or not, and they farm right up to the beach. We don't think of it that way. We think of beaches having all sand, but no, they grew their corn. What the heck? They used to grow corn on Cape Cod. The Indians did anyway. But yeah, and I don't know how it became but then I guess they shut it down by declaring there was a problem, a rare bird that nested there, and that's how they finally closed it down. But it was and you got them down.
You would think if the bird was nesting there, it would feel right at home. But,
Yeah, I guess there's a nude beach on Martha's Vineyard.
no kidding. Yeah, totally unaware.
Yeah,
I mean, again, if I'm going on to a nude beach, it's going to be in the Caribbean,
yeah.
somewhere where I don't know anyone and it's warm.
Right. Well,
And the water's
the
a little
water's
warmer.
warm.
Yeah.
they're very popular in Europe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. We had a travel agent with us for a really long time, and that was one of her specialties was nudist resorts.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and she would go and she would tour them all, and we'd be like, oh, we can't believe you're doing that. It was, what are you doing? And she's like, you see this purse? I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's all I'm taking. That's my luggage. That's why. And yeah, no, it was great. And I tell you, some of the best people you ever want to meet are the people that, I want to go to a nude resort. It was great.
They're going there because they really want to enjoy the sun
Yeah.
over their entire body, and they don't look at it. They're not going there for sexual reasons.
Yeah, we had a few of those too, but
We have
that's-
some, but most part,
Most
they're
of them,
there
they're just
to
comfortable
enjoy the
with
sun.
Yeah,
themselves.
exactly.
and-
They are very comfortable, literally in their own skin.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
that's a good way
was.
of putting it.
Yep. So no, we like I said, we do it all.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
whether you want to go to Australia and pack 14 bags, or you want to go to the Caribbean and just pack a purse, like we can do it all.
Yeah, Australia's become pretty popular for tourism, hasn't it?
I think it's been popular.
Yeah.
I mean, the only
I mean,
thing that
we're
holds it back
kind
is
of
the
We
It's a
don't do a
long-
whole lot of it just
it's a
because
long
it's
trip.
a long trip.
Right.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And sometimes destinations like that kind of go in cycles. Like we'll have like a bunch of people,
Yeah.
and then we'll have like nobody for years.
well, we just had the Super Bowl just had that Crocodile
Oh,
Dundee,
yeah.
so chances are we'll get some
calls.
calls, like, oh yeah, I always wanted to go to
Yeah,
Australia.
it probably goes when the Crocodile Dundee movie was popular. Everybody wanted to go to Australia, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that was Sandals picked up again, and Sandals is a wonderful place to go. Couples is wonderful resorts, but when Sandals did that tie-in with The Bachelor, suddenly
Oh.
I want to go to Sandals. It's so.
Now, I see a lot of ads for that Atlantis. Is that very popular?
Yeah, again, it's something that kind of goes
Out
in
of Bermuda.
cycles. It's in the Bahamas.
Bahamas, right.
On
Bermuda.
Paradise
I meant to say
Island. I've been
Bahamas.
there. It's kind of overpriced for what you get.
That's
I
what
think.
I hear.
mean, there's definitely other options, and that's one of the places where a family might come in and say, "I've always wanted to go to Atlantis." Price it out, and then like price out something else. Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
for this amount of money,
My son told me that. He went there and he said it was overpriced for what you got.
right?
He said they do
Because
a
you have to
great job
pay
with
for
the ad.
everything. It's not all inclusive,
Yeah.
and yeah, it gets very
Now
expensive.
Sandals is all inclusive, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they got some pretty nice resorts.
Very nice.
Yeah, they have some nice resorts. Everything's included. You can't even tip when you're there. So,
Yes, that's an important factor. If you don't have to worry about tipping.
right.
Because, you know, if you're going down to the beach, you got your bait, you got to bring money with you.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that.
Nope.
And they're also family, you know, we think of Sandals as couples, but they're not now. They're more family resort
They
now,
have
aren't they?
beaches as their family properties, but the Sandals is couples only.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All the Sandals are couples only, but beaches is couples, families.
Oh,
Does
that's the
Beaches
same.
still have the Sesame Street characters?
Yes.
Okay. So
Oh.
you can tell your kids you're going to Disney and actually wind up on the beach instead.
You know, Disney has become big travel people.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got
Disney's
the
crazy.
cruises and,
Yeah. Well, now they have the Star Wars tie-in too. So,
yeah, well, they bought the Star Wars franchise, they bought the Sesame Street franchise.
Yeah.
They got it all.
Yeah.
Opening up like a new Toy Story land and
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they have to always come up with new things to make people want to go back
Right.
over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Oh, I know. They're getting pretty pricey though.
Yeah, it can be expensive.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, you know, you to see it, actually now, is it better to stay in the Disney resort?
Yes. Yeah, then you get access to all the buses.
It always-
Especially if you're down there like a busy
done
time,
both.
you're guaranteed to get into
Yep.
the parks. Yeah, we
We've done
usually
both, and I
suggest
think you're
staying
better
on
off in
site.
the park.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't have to leave, I mean, there's so much to do.
right.
And you get the package with the meals,
Hmm.
you don't have a lot to worry about.
No,
Yeah.
no. There's
And-
a lot of planning now with Disney, though. You have to do fast passes and dining reservations. It can be overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah. Now, it's a little tougher now with security too, right?
That I haven't been down there in a while. I'm sure it is.
I mean, for when you
Watching,
book it.
going through your
Well, I mean,
bags and
yeah,
things.
but I mean, one of the things with Disney is they do a good job of making sure you're not thinking about it.
Yeah,
So,
they're experts at
yeah.
making sure you have a good time.
Right.
Right. So, their whole thing is, while they might have enhanced security, you're not going to feel the
Right.
enhanced security.
One thing I did, I was talking to one of the workers there, and he was from North Carolina, and I says, "Oh, you must be thrilled working." He says, "There's no thrill with working here." He says, "When I go to downtown Orlando, everybody works for Disney." So I don't really think, but he said, "I go home, everybody says, 'Wow, you're lucky, you work at Disney World.'" He says, "Believe me, it don't feel that way when you're here."
And we have an inn over at Disney, so it's
Yeah, my son works for Disney now. So,
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
so we
Yeah, he loves it.
we do we have a lot of connections with Disney. Like I said, Sharon brings a big group down there every year. Tammy's been there, probably more times than you care to think about.
Well, Walt Disney came up with the concept when his kids were young, and they went somewhere in the Anaheim area, and it was like some kind of amusement park, and he felt it was not really for kids, and came up with the concept of Disneyland,
Hmm.
and then went from there. So it's really his concept. They changed the way every theme parks work.
Right.
Yeah, I've actually been to Disneyland more than I've been to Disney World.
Oh,
It's,
I always thought we were lucky because we're on the East Coast, we get to go to Disney World,
Hmm.
and it's much bigger and more expansive.
yes,
Right.
but
But I think Disneyland it's the original. It's not as busy.
Well, they only have so much room.
Right.
yeah,
Disney said that when he started building Disney World. He said, "I got room to do anything I want here." He bought up so much land. I mean, they own as much land as a city.
oh yeah,
And they keep
Mm.
expanding.
yeah, right, because they can.
I mean, when you drive in, you're driving in on highways that Disney owns,
Yeah,
and it looks like they're interstates.
Like when it's like welcome to Disney, and it
Yeah.
still is like miles.
I
before.
know. And then you get to those parking lots. I mean, you got to take the tram because you'd be exhausted walking, especially in the heat.
Yeah, my son, he wants to go to all the Disneyland parks around the world. So
Oh,
we did Disneyland Paris a couple years ago. We were in Paris and took the train out for the day. So
Oh,
that was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
I always thought it was funny when Disney first launched Euro Disney and it wasn't a big success right away. And people were saying like, oh well, why not? And there was all these studies and everything of why it wasn't taking off, and they finally figured out, they're like, oh, because they have real castles. Like,
Right.
like like the Disney castle and the stories and the lore don't mean anything to Europeans. They have it. Although
Right.
most of their stories end with somebody getting beheaded or the building burning down. But
There's a castle in every city.
yeah, and that's actually, I mean, now we're actually seeing London coming down in price. Because of the whole Brexit thing, they're noticing a decrease in tourism. So there's
Really,
actually
they've had a decrease in tourism?
yeah, yep, and so
I wouldn't think
that
the
was actually
Brexit thing would make that.
people travel or don't travel for strange reasons. It's
Or could it be that they're losing a lot of tourism from Europe itself? Because
that's part of it, but
I don't know if anybody realizes it. You can drive from England to France now.
yeah,
That tunnel.
You
yeah,
get
the
train,
tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's got to be a long ride underwater.
Like an hour and a half or something
Oh,
on the train.
On the
But,
train, yeah, I don't know.
I
how
don't think
long it
I
would
don't
be.
know if I could do it.
I'd be
I'm a
nervous.
little
Yeah.
claustrophobic and a little
I know,
nervous under the
don't you
water.
get a little
I'd be curious. I'd be curious how that would go.
I've been on the Chesapeake Bridge,
Oh God.
and that's a long ride, but you're out in the open. You only got a short span that you have to go in a tunnel where the ships come over.
Yeah,
The connection, the English Channel connection, that's all underground.
Right.
That is a long ride. I'd be thinking, oh man, hope this thing don't crack.
yeah. I hope the same people that built the Big Dig didn't.
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah,
this.
that's not leaking.
Yeah, hopefully there's less leaks in this
But-
thing.
It's like it's
But
raining.
until the Brezhnev, Brest, I say how you say it now.
Brexit.
Brexit, yeah, the break exit. And before that, you could drive between countries. They didn't have. It was like driving between states. And that's one reason they broke away, because they thought there was too many people moving around Europe and terrorists and things like that. But it was like one big country under that Euro thing.
Right. Yeah. So the good news is it's cheaper to go there now.
See, I was in Europe. I was in Europe in the late '60s, and I traveled from Germany to Austria. I mean, we had the military ID, but you had to show an ID to get through, or passport. Now they just go back and forth.
Yeah, and if you go through certain countries, you don't go through any immigration or anything.
No,
When I flew to Paris, we flew through Iceland, and they
Which is
have.
a wonderful
Yeah, that's a
destination.
fabulous destination. But we got into Paris and we walked out the door, and I'm like, well, where's customs? So we didn't get a stamp. So as far as France is concerned, I've never been there.
right.
I get really bitter if I travel and I don't get a stamp.
I got multiple stamps from
Yeah.
Iceland.
Right. But if I go
But
somewhere,
I'm like, I thought that
I
was a
gotta-
little
I
odd.
gotta stamp my passport. That's why I have this thing.
Right.
Like, stamp it.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it changed a lot here because, I mean, years ago, you could drive up to Canada, just drive across the border, check in. Oh, were you American citizen? Yes. How long are you going to be here? Oh, a couple of days, no problem.
Well, even traveling to the Caribbean. I mean, for the
Yeah.
first 10 or 15 years that I was a
Yeah, no
travel agent,
passport.
I didn't have a passport.
Now
We
you
flew to the
can't-
Caribbean with our birth certificates and our photo ID.
Yep.
Long form.
Yeah, long form, race seal,
Yep.
birth certificate.
Yeah, but now
But
you-
yeah, but now,
you can't
yeah.
leave the
Yeah.
country without a passport.
But we were the only country that had that. I mean, any other country, from the time you're born, you have a passport.
Right.
So,
Yeah, because they couldn't travel between them.
Yeah.
but
And speaking of like Canada and Iceland, that's one of the things I've been trying to. And I'm sure Tammy thinks I'm crazy, but I've been trying to embrace seasonal travel more.
Uh-huh.
So rather than always running someplace warm in the middle of winter, I seem to start going to
Well,
places that are even colder.
Well, Iceland is not cold.
The hell, it's not.
Well, I mean,
It's not any colder than it is here.
It's colder here, but
It
it's
is.
It's not really Iceland.
You're right. There's more ice in Greenland than there is in Iceland.
Right.
But I'll tell you,
So you got the volcanoes and you got
One,
the.
one of the coldest I've ever been in my life was in Iceland in March, going to view the Northern Lights.
Really?
And it was one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen.
Yep.
It's not something everyone gets to do. That's kind of one problem with nature travel like that is you may or may not get to see what you came to see, because the Northern Lights are very weather dependent.
Well, yeah, and you have
But-
to have a magnetic storm.
Yeah, it has to be a certain temperature. It has to be clear, but it can't be too bright. Like I said, all these things have to go
Right.
to make it right. If we had gone one day earlier or one day earlier and left a day earlier, we wouldn't have seen them. We very much lucked into seeing them, but it was both the coldest I have ever been and just the most beautiful thing I've seen. A few years earlier, we went up to Banff, Canada, which is another one, and we went up there in the winter, and again, like just freezing cold, but there's some really amazing things to be seen even in the winter.
Yeah, but isn't it, one of the problems though is the nights are so long. It's little daylight.
Yeah.
We're creatures of daylight. Most animals are nocturnal. We're humans like daylight.
Yeah, you adjust. I mean, I can't imagine. If you're a person that fights like seasonal depression or something like that, like it would not be great. But you adjust to it, in short order, because you have to, right? Like you paid all this money. There's certain things you want to do.
Right. One of the
It's,
most depressing things to me is getting up in the morning and it's still dark out.
yeah.
I mean, it's dark till 7 o'clock. At least it's getting a little lighter earlier now, but I mean.
But then you have the opposite in the summer. You do an Alaska
Yeah,
trip,
and then you got the.
and then
the
it never
midnight
gets
sun.
dark.
Yeah,
Because I
never-
did an
yeah,
Alaska cruise years ago, and in the dining room, just talking.
Yep.
Well, it's not getting dark out, so you have no concept of the time, so you just keep
Yeah.
talking. It's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. At 2 o'clock in the morning.
And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, it's light out. Must be
Yeah.
time to get up. Oh, it's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it looks like midday.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Alaskan cruises are becoming very popular,
Yes. Yeah. And if you do Alaska, there's many different ways you can do it. And again, that's another reason to come in and talk to an agent. You can go out of Seattle and just do round trip and do the inside passage, and it's easy. You can fly nonstop to Seattle. We've had people coordinate a trip to Alaska with the Red Sox playing in Seattle. So you can fly up to Seattle, see a Red Sox game, take an Alaska cruise. Or there's people that want to do the whole experience, and you fly into Anchorage and you do the pre-tour and you go to Denali and see all the wildlife, and then take the cruise down and end in Vancouver or Seattle. So, yeah, many options for something like that too.
I'd love to do that Rocky Mountain train.
Yeah, I've got people doing that this summer.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, was that the Canadian Rocky?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they got quite a train trip.
Yeah, it's all open,
Yeah.
glass train, and it takes you through the Canadian Rockies and.
Which they say are even more beautiful than the Rockies in America.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, even like I said, Banff was
Well,
one of my
it's
favorite
a lot
trips.
less settled.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and by design. So like when I went to Banff, there's you have downtown, which has some hotel options, but once you get out of downtown and into like the park, there's a castle hotel and like that's it, because that's what the Canadian government has said they're going to allow. So they do a better job of incorporating tourism with their natural beauty, I think, than we
Yes.
do on a lot of occasions.
Yeah, Canada likes to sell its natural beauty, and it's a beautiful country up that way.
Yeah. Like I used to go to Sedona a lot. I told you my uncle lives up there, and I'll tell you when I was a kid, it was one of the most breathtaking places you'd ever want to go, and there was just unbridled building there, and so now it's a lot of that natural beauty has really been taken away because just everybody wanted to build a house, and
I know.
did.
I mean, the population's jumping up with people, a lot of retirees.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas. I mean, Vegas become big sprawl.
Vegas is, it's an interesting place.
Yeah. But I mean, it went from a little dirt desert town
Right.
back in the 50s when they started with the casinos to a big metropolis with all kinds of bungalows, you might say. They're not big houses, but they're all over.
No, they have big houses there now too.
And there's some big, there's a lot of rich
it's-
people moving out there as
yeah.
well.
Well,
But
they have
I'm
a
saying-
hockey team, so
Yeah, I know how to get a hockey.
because when you think Las Vegas, you think hockey.
But they're draining the lake now because there's so many people out there.
I tell ya,
Water level is way down.
If you ever get a chance in your life to go out and see like the Grand Canyon, you did that.
Yeah,
that
Lake Powell.
Yeah, Lake Powell Grand Canyon trip. Lake Powell was kind of my playground when I was in college, and it is one of everyone's like, oh, the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's amazing. It's spectacular. It's a must see. But Lake Powell to me was even more spectacular because it was like you made a lake out of the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and it was very interactive where you could take a boat and you could go right up to these walls, and the way that they were formed, it looked like there was chocolate, like just flowing down these red rocks, and it's, to me, just one of the most beautiful places in the United States. And
Pictures don't do it justice.
it doesn't. Like everyone sees a picture of like the Slot Canyon. That's one of the big things, and no matter how vivid that picture is, it will never capture just how amazing it is. Which is the same with the Grand Canyon. I mean, until you see it
Right.
in person, you'll never grasp. It's the enormity of it, or the majesticism of it.
No, we got a lot to see in this country. It's such a large and beautiful country. A lot of people don't realize it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm a big fan, of off-season travel. Like I don't like, I don't like tourists. Which
Yeah.
which I am one.
Right.
But
Which, I know you don't want to be a tourist. You want to try to fit in with the
yeah. Well,
with
not
the
only
natives.
that, like I like to see. I want to see places when they're not overcrowded. When I'm not,
Right.
when I'm not, just going like this, all the time because everybody's rushing this way and then everybody's
Yeah.
rushing this way. So if you're willing to, put up with some weather, that might not be ideal, like, you can see some amazing places without having to deal with all the people.
At a good price too.
At
usually.
a better price. I mean,
Well, yeah, you get a lot bigger break because nobody's going.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, when my wife and I did London, I think it was March too. What am I doing this March? I gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
London
know
can
what
be
you're
kind of
doing.
dreary in March.
Oh yeah, the weather was awful. it was downright terrible. It was drizzly. It was foggy. It was cold. I never waited in a line. Every castle I went to, I walked right up to the castle. Every bar I went into, I bellied right up to the bar and had my fish and chips. Like it was great. London was an amazing city. Like I said, it was they just released that Winston Churchill movie, and I got to go down and see Winston Churchill's bunker. Where where he'd get his beef Wellington every night, and
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tourism spot now, isn't it?
oh, big time. You could go into this one church, and there's this giant hole in the attic. You go up to the attic, and if you're afraid of heights, it's not where you want to go. But they show where a bomb went through the roof of the church and didn't detonate.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, but we're really high up here. Like, did it do any structural damage? I guess is what I'm really after here. Yeah, no, it's an amazing city. And again, like if if you're willing to travel when, when other people aren't necessarily, if you're a hardier person, that isn't like, oh, I want to go to,
Well, I think
I need a warm
Americans,
beach.
right, yeah.
Americans feel somewhat of a tie to England, because we're an English colony originally, and even if, a lot of us are children of immigrants, either second, third, or fourth generation, but you still feel that tie to the English because of the fact that they originally started a colony, and we're familiar with the Pilgrims, and they were from England, and the Puritans were from England. If you go to Boston, it's all English history. So you tend to, and then you go over there, a lot of the cities and towns have the same name.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
it's except it doesn't say new in front of it.
Right, right.
Yeah, we have New Boston and I mean, I guess we have Boston too, but New London, which New London doesn't look anything like old London.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it is. It's
New-
we were
also-
they were not very original.
New
when they
London
came
also
here.
has the Thames River, the Thames.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
don't
the
think
river
I
that
realized
goes
that.
through New London is called the Thames.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Connecticut River is further east. It comes down into Saybrook.
Yep,
which
the
is-
old Saybrook, yeah.
Yeah, but when you go further, you get over to New London. There's a river that comes in. It's called the Thames.
Huh.
Yeah, Connecticut River's
Yeah.
fun too. There's a lot you can do down there.
Now, what seems to be the most popular place? Probably Florida.
No, not really. No, we sell
No?
more. I mean, right now, Italy is huge. Sharon has a ton of people going to Italy this year.
Really?
Ton. Seems like every week she has another call for Italy.
Wow.
So she's kind of been our Italy specialist right now. Get quite a few people going to Ireland this year. But then, I mean, of course, the Caribbean, the Dominican, Jamaica, Mexico,
Yeah.
all that for the warm
Yeah, the Caribbean's
destinations
very
this winter.
popular right
Yeah.
now.
Right now, that's very
Get
popular.
away from the
Cruises,
lousy cold weather for at least
Right.
a week.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, a lot of Italy.
Actually, you don't have to go all the way to the Bahamas. You don't have to go down to the Caribbean. You can go to Bermuda and get some nice weather too.
Not now though, because
Really, is it?
Bermuda's chilly. Bermuda's probably around 60s right now, because they're like on
Really?
the same weather as I think South Carolina or something like that. So we had people request, oh, I want to go to Bermuda. You don't want to go now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
We'll get a lot
cool.
of
I thought might be a little warmer because you're in the Gulf Stream.
Yeah, I mean, it's warmer. It would feel warm for us, I guess, at this point, but it's not warm.
yeah.
I was down in Atlanta right after the first of the year. This is a number of years ago. I think it was in the 80s. And I left Logan. It was like 5 below. Get down there. It's about 35 degrees. Everybody's got big coats on and gloves and scarves and hat. And I'm walking around with a suit coat. Aren't you cold? I says, cold? I just left 5 below zero. It's the heat
that
wave.
happened to me going to Texas years ago over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we were in shorts and we were going outside getting sprayed down by the hose. But it was chilly out in the morning. It was like 50 and they had to go put their winter coats on to go to school and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you got people from New England down to Florida in the winter, and they'll go in the ocean, and the Floridians say, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you been to the ocean in Maine?
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Their ocean in the winters isn't as cold as Maine
Right.
in the summer.
Right.
Oh, I know. Especially if you go way up north. I've been up to Arcadia, and I see people. There's a nice beach in Arcadia National Park, and I see people going in the water. I say, how do they do that? No way! I wouldn't put my toe in there.
Well, you notice there's no nude beaches up there.
No, no.
Not too many beaches in New England that I would go into.
No.
It's,
Oh, hey, we gotta wrap it up.
All right.
wow.
See how fast that goes? I'm telling you. So let everybody, hey, look at, if you're going on a trip, give them a call, because you might find it's even easier than trying to figure out this online, and when am I gonna stay at this one, am I gonna do it, is this you can do it all for you.
Right.
Not a bad deal.
Nope.
No.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you
Well,
very much
thank
for your
you.
time. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be off next week. I got another meeting next Thursday night, but we'll be back the week after that. And our guest is gonna be Jeannie Hebert, and we're gonna be talking about the Blackstone Valley Business Expo that's coming up March 3rd.
Thank you very much.
Okay.